Tell me, do you yourself have a lot of anti-mainland sentiment? Are you extremely angry at mainland China?
I love China. I love the place. No, it has a rich history, a full historical value of the Chinese culture. However, we just hate the Communist Party. People in China, or people from the West, they may not be able to separate the party from the land itself. We have a rich history of China, the Tang Dynasty, Song Dynasty, so on and so forth. However, since 1949, the Chinese Communist Party have taken over the whole China. And it tried to control the whole country with its totalitarian regime. But the point is, I just hate totalitarianism. It doesn't mean I hate Chinese culture. And indeed, as a Chinese myself, I love the rich culture of China. Therefore, I only hate CCP.
Now, it seems that some protesters and their hate for the CCP have been obviously taking down and burning the Chinese flag. Do you have any animosity towards the Chinese flag yourself?
I've no comment on it. Like, I don't care about the Chinese flag. Okay, we have our own Hong Kong flag, and now the Hong Kong anthem. Therefore, I think it's nothing. The Chinese flag. I don't care.
Do you yourself have any mainland Chinese colleagues or friends? You mentioned before that some of your extended family is in mainland China. Do you connect with other mainland Chinese?
I was connected, but I don't actively connect them because, in China, besides the physical Great Wall, we also have the internet Great Wall. And my relative tried to use the VPN to download WhatsApp and then connected and contact me. He was curious about what's happening in Hong Kong because from the news he saw on Weibo, a Chinese government channel, he saw that people in Hong Kong, they're named rioters, they're doing all sorts of destruction, they're trying to disrupt the order of Hong Kong. But he thought there could be another side of the story, and therefore he talked to me and wanted to know more.
How much does your friend or do other mainland Chinese engage with you? How often do you report back to them what's happening here?
It depends on whether or not they are really trying to understand the whole movement or they're just trying to show their unnecessary patriotic attitude. Because for some mainlanders, definitely they have a love for the country, and no matter what the country does, they will just try the best to defend, to vanguard the reputation of the country. However, some mainlanders in Hong Kong, they're more liberated and they wanted to know what exactly is happening. But if I have a chance to meet those more open-minded mainlanders, I try to talk about there are two systems in Hong Kong and China, and they're different. Freedom and totalitarianism, they can't coexist, and we have to make the choice.
Now, we've talked about the people of mainland China, and I'm curious, what are your thoughts on the business sector, both mainland Chinese businesses in Hong Kong, but even Hong Kong businesses themselves? Do you think they've been helpful for the protest movement, or have they been more harmful? Like, what is your perspective? Do you think big business is actually at fault for not helping to resolve this problem?
I think the Chinese corporations and some Hong Kong business, they actually have to rely on each other. As we know, Hong Kong is unofficially well known for the money laundering for Chinese people, Chinese businessmen. Or they have to do this, they have to do such thing in Hong Kong. But ever since the extradition bill, although many Chinese corporations they show a great disapproval of what we've done, but they're still in Hong Kong. They haven't retreated yet. So although they kept talking something about you shouldn't disrupt the order, but they're still in Hong Kong. That's what we know, and that's what the whole world should know. You still need Hong Kong.
Carrie Lam officially withdrew the extradition bill about a month ago. However, there are 5 demands and not one less that are stated by the protest movement. What are these demands?
首先係撤回逃犯條例，第一；第二，成立獨立調查委員會；第三，撤回暴動定義；第四，釋放被捕人士；最後實行雙普選。So it's the only way to liberate Hong Kong, because right now Hong Kong is under the control of the central government, and only with the universal suffrage can we have our own future, but not a future constructed by the central government.
So, of those four demands that are left, you find universal suffrage to be the most important?
Yes.
If perhaps the conversation for universal suffrage were to move forward, how would you feel if the other three demands were ignored or not met?
I think that's not possible. Like, if we have our universal suffrage, that means we can choose our representatives, and they will do the follow-up action. Otherwise, they can't gain the votes from us. You know, the problem isn't just about the universal suffrage, but the corruption and the disobedience of the Hong Kong police force, and we can see how bad our government is. Therefore, we actually need a reform in the sense of having a universal suffrage. Therefore, the universal suffrage is not what we really want as an final end, but it's just a means for us to get a better future.
Are there any alternatives that you see to confront the government besides these violent protests? Is there any other avenues that you see to really engage in a meaningful way to find the answer to these problems?
In November, there will be a district councillor election, and if we try to do it in a more peaceful manner, I think this will be the first step. However, as suggested by the government, it would like to shut down the election. As it's said, there may be some obstructions, some violence that may hinder the whole election. To be honest, if the government shut down the election, then the violence will only be escalated, and besides violence, nothing can be used. Because we try to have peaceful demonstration and so-called dialogue, but I have to tell you that Carrie Lam betrayed us many times. The PS, hated guy, she did nothing. After the dialogue, all those historical places in Hong Kong, as suggested in her plan, were demolished. Therefore, she betrayed us many times, and we should not trust any of these dialogues anymore.
So aside from not trusting the dialogue, aside from making sure that we don't trust Carrie Lam, potentially district council elections, if they're not stopped by the government, could potentially be a way out. You see this as some way to try to change things?
Yes, because the majority of Hong Kong people are not into violence, definitely. I think for any civilized society, violence is not the means to achieving a democratic society. But through elections and a well system which allows check and balance, we can monitor the government and we can pull down those who are not doing us favors. But if the district council election is really shut down, then we have to come out again.
So hopefully you do think the district council elections this fall and potentially LegCo elections next fall could still add value?
Yes.
And tell me, what is the difference between a district councillor and a legislative councillor? Obviously, LegCo is the primary lawmaking body of Hong Kong. How do district councillors make a difference?
Okay. In the past, we usually rely some authority figures, someone with great power, to make the decision for us. However, after the Umbrella Revolution, we know there's no Deus ex machina. There's no God from the sky to save us. We have to do bit by bit, and from the basic levels to greater levels. For district councillors, they have the ability to check whether the 18 districts in Hong Kong, they're doing the job well, or are they providing good public service to the population. In this way, we would like to liberate the whole population. As far as my information is concerned, more than half of the population, half of the population that are eligible to vote, they didn't do so. See, they're actively giving up their right to vote. But if we can start from the district council election, where in which people vote and people vote someone they prefer, then it is the first step to liberate Hong Kong in a peaceful manner. Because we allowed our voices to get into the government and they will make the change for us.
So going forward, beyond the district council elections, beyond LegCo elections, obviously let's focus on the universal suffrage package because that's on everyone's mind. It's been something that the Hong Kong people have been fighting for since Occupy in 2014. What are your thoughts on that original universal suffrage package that was approved by Beijing but voted down by LegCo in 2014?
I think it's a surveillance, but in sugarcoat, literally. Like, how come there are more than 7 million people in Hong Kong, but you're only having 1,200 people voting for one person, and that person has to be approved by the central government? This is completely nonsense. This is not universal suffrage. Where's the universal? Okay, this is a small circle election. And look at Carrie Lam. Definitely, she's loyal to the party, but she betrayed the 7 million people. She betrayed her home. That's the case.
If the government insisted on peace before moving forward with any kind of universal suffrage discussion or any kind of legislation preparation, do you think the protest movement would agree to something like that?
If possible, we would like to look for the universal suffrage and look for a better future through negotiation, dialogues, peaceful demonstration. But they are all refused and turned down by the government.
So, with this very complex situation, with what seems to be an overwhelming amount of realism and a hint of pessimism, some protesters have decided to go the route of advocating for Hong Kong independence. What's your take on that? What do you think about when you think of Hong Kong independence?
It's a very ideal mindset, but not plausible for now. Right now, we have to take care of the whole extradition movement. If you say something very vague, very ideal, it's okay, but not at this situation. I think we should do the right thing at the right time. Right now, we are here to talk about the corruption of the government, the brutality carried out by the police force. We have to get them settled first before thinking of a better future, because they are what hindering our current situation now.
And in the current situation now, like we talked about for just a brief second, Carrie Lam has actually decided to start this platform and this dialogue with the citizens of Hong Kong. They had the first dialogue about a week ago or so with 150 of Hong Kong citizens. What's your reaction to this dialogue? Do you think it is a meaningful path for the chief executive to take?
It is more aesthetical than practical, and to be honest, I guess it is only lip service. Carrie Lam has been talking a lot about peaceful dialogue, helping Hong Kong, resolving all issues, but they are all big words without any concrete actions. As if it were some sort of double speak, okay? It is nonsense. She's trying to tell us, you have to do nothing so that we can do everything for you. But we've been waiting for that for years, and our government completely fails to resolve all different conflicts and problems, societal problems in Hong Kong. That's why we had to come out. So I think any dialogue with Carrie Lam is useless. And always remember, action speaks louder than words.
It's a bit of a lull in activity right now. Just stood here in Causeway Bay. All around me left is just the Frontline Radical Protesters. Police perhaps 100 feet just down there, and a standoff with the protesters. Don't know what the next move is. Perhaps they're trying to flank from behind, or perhaps they're going to start firing tear gas soon. We just don't know. Everything's just stopped right now. People are just waiting for the next move. So it's like police are making a move now.